Ladies, gentlemen, and young ladies, good evening, everyone. You are welcome to this news geopolitical conference dedicated to world news. In the headlines, all the eyes are focused on the Republic from Ivory Coast, where until now nothing goes. So far, nothing is going well. It must be said that the people mobilized, determined to sort out this fourth grade affair mandate. The people came out en masse. We had to talk about it. But what happened next is that there is a repression that does not say its name. A significant security device has been set in motion. The protesters were severely repressed and many were dispersed, even if they sometimes called on reinforcements from their friends to come to allow them to be very numerous in order to be able to and allow numbers to dominate over security forces. Despite everything, tear gas and other practices, unconventional methods have made it possible to disperse certain groups. At the moment, we are in the process of speak. Some have circulated messages of civil disobedience, but it must be said that this is not generalized as such, and we do not see any coordination in these calls. What remains clear, the situation is to become complicated, but the security forces so far are succeeding in controlling, to stifle the various demonstrations which are in progress. As part of this geopolitical conference dedicated to international news, I give the information right now. I believe it is exactly 6:15 p.m. GMT. That's it. Since at every hour that passes, every minute that passes, the news changes, the situation changes. So, within the framework of this conference and of this news that we are going to speak, please share it as much as possible. Please subscribe to stay informed of everything that is happening in the world. So it is one, and it is a repression which suffocates but no longer stabilizes Ivory Coast. In any case, for the today, October 11th, 2025. Ivory Coast is not stable. Maybe tomorrow it will be stable. Yes, because the security forces arm are really hard at work, but for at the moment, Ivory Coast is not stable. So we have the repression of mobilizations, and there is the climate of fear that is setting in. The streets are under control, it must be said, eh? The streets are under control. So the events organized by the Common Front, PDCI, RDA, are massively dispersed. That's the truth. The forces of the order proceeds to arrest and use tear gas to prevent gatherings. No gathering because it had been forbidden. We put it on you. We arrest you. No, there are arrests that are in course. Yes, and those who try to regroup at the level of the major spaces, roundabouts are automatically dispersed by gases tear gas, so the demonstration is stifled. But despite the suppression of the demonstration, the Republic of Ivory Coast is not stable. It is not stable at all. Not at all. At least for this today, what has really serious consequences on the country. There you go. So it must be said that there is had an official ban. The planned marches were banned by the prefecture of Abidjan and reported under pressure from the authorities. Civil society today is caught in the Ivorian Star. NGOs, unions, and independent media are being pressured, administrative and judicial. There are suspension of approval for certain people, some NGOs, some here. We suspend their approval because if already the approval is suspended, you are in illegality. When you want to practice your activities, you are not allowed. So there is judicial pressure also through certain arrests for the moment. We don't have yet the list of those who were arrested in as such, but there are many of arrests. There are prosecutions, there are disappearances of key organizers. There, the names are not yet known to us. Connected, but what remains clear, everything. This proves sufficiently that there is a climate of fear, there is a climate stability for this day of the 11th October 2025. So, some call for disobedient civil. Will this appeal be expected? Are those who call to civil disobedience have the power there? Can they count on the Ivorian populations? On the opposition? Are they not going to not disappear in turn? Is it that they are not going? In any case, there is a lot of is it. But it must be said that the main opposition parties, which have increased calls to the mobilization of stock markets, citizens to denounce the exclusion of leaders, and the confiscation of the process electoral, these calls led to what we are seeing. There are signs of disobedience that were relayed on social networks. We see images. Others call for civil disobedience. They put the fire at the level of the different roundabouts, as you can see in picture. In any case, the question is whether these calls will be heard, since it is with a courage that must be called civil disobedience. If the situation has not yet reached a certain threshold, you call for civil disobedience. The situation can turn against you. It's like a sword of Damocles which is on the head there. But officially, for the moment, we have not yet seen some organizers called for disobedience civil because they know when even the weight of what it means. These are some participants who are in making this call. What if, unfortunately, if it's good, I won't say unfortunately in any case, if this call is heard by the people, it risks to be very complicated for the regime Ivorian. But for the moment, the regime Ivorian has control of the situation. It must be said, even if we are witnessing a paralysis in Abidjan and elsewhere, inland towns such as Bouaké and others. So it must be said that there is an immediate repression of all attempts. Immediate repression, where these calls take shape. Since some make the calls to civil disobedience or to carry out such action, when the calls start to take shape, when citizens begin to find themselves, automatically we disperse them. President prepared for this, automatically disseminate them. There you go. So the state responds with arrests en masse and the ban administrative gatherings, which turns any protest into a risk of arrest. That means you are Ivorian. You have, if you don't want to stop, you have to withdraw. So the climate of fear is developing, settle down. But it must be said that the legitimacy of the regime is weakened. The tension social, it is explosive, since already goes to the elections without opponents credible. The street is considered like a dangerous valve. And that's it when the ballot boxes are locked. The street becomes the last resort and all that which is happening. So there has a risk of national contagion. Here is the combination of repression. Electoral exclusion creates a ground which is obviously conducive to escalation, more violent than a simple protest civil. So people are in a climate of fear. So they are afraid of being arrested and etc. But it only increases the tension. In any case, here is for the moment what is happening. Move to the Republic of Ivory Coast. We will continue to follow this news on this side. Everything that goes on result, we will come back to talk about it here on the platform for raising awareness. So thank you all. I come back later with news. It was obviously the voice of your humble servant, the Samouraï.